Hey pups, RP here, and welcome back to another fanfiction reading. Today's fanfiction is going to be a Dragon Ball Super fanfiction involving everyone's favorite trio of wolves, the Trio of Danger. This fanfiction in particular is by Mr. Tie-Dye. Be sure to follow them on fanfiction.net and maybe some other social medias that they may or may not be on, which I will link in the description below. And basically the summary of this fanfiction is as follows. The Tournament of Power will begin in 4 hours, and Universe 9's team still consists of only 3 warriors. The Trio of Danger have 1/6 of a day to find 7 other fighters to join them, or their universe will face disqualification and immediate erasure. This is basically what happened with Trio of Danger outside of the episode Which Universe Will Survive? The Strongest Warriors are all coming together, if I remember the episode correctly. And this is how they all got their team by the time the tournament had begun, so this should be a very fun fanfiction to read. I have actually read this fanfiction a long while back when I first started getting into Dragon Ball Super and the Dragon Ball fandom, and I can honestly say this is a very fun read. And also they are going with the original anime dub with the subtitles, so yeah. And also, fair warning, a majority of these characters in this fanfiction in particular are all obviously male, with a few exception of maybe 1 or 2 female characters. So just a fair warning that I am obviously not a man. I can't do male voices, even if I tried. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoy this fanfiction. All that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. It was the darkest hour for the Trio of Danger. The 3 wolves stood at the precipice with their heads hung low, whimpering at the sight of the raging cityscape below. There were explosions going off every second, courtesy of the myriad gangs of rioters, looters, and armed thugs, all taking sadistic joy in setting the streets ablaze with their high-caliber weapons. "I am the king of this planet!" roared the bearded eye-patch-wearing rogue, as he fired his rocket launcher directly into a crowd of pedestrians. Neither Bergamo, Lavender, nor Basil could peel their eyes away from the carnage. As chilling and disheartening as the spectacle was, it paled in comparison to the devastating glares of those 2 deities standing beside them. The 3 of them expected their god of destroyer, Sidra, to start cutting into them any second now. It took them by surprise. Then, his normally blithe angel attendant, Mojito, was the one who broke the silence. "What is the meaning of this?" Mojito pulled back his silvery bangs like a curtain to reveal a stinging side-eye. The Trio of Danger, cowered by Mojito's rare display of irritation, all started talking over each other in a disorganized attempt to explain the situation. "I'm very sorry," Basil cried. "Those guys learned of the universe's erasure and started a revolt," blurted out Lavender. "They plan to abandon this universe and escape to another," continued Bergamo. Mojito responded with a teeth-gritting scowl, through which a breathy grunt of despair escaped. "So," Sidra said, turning to face the Trio of Danger. His bushy orange eyebrows arched downward, and his skin tightened across his bald forehead. "How many warriors have you gathered?" The Trio of Danger balked at the question. Sidra knew damn well that the answer was nobody. He had to know. If they had managed to recruit anyone for the Tournament of Power, why would they be facing their god of destruction alone? Their heads hung in shame. But Sidra, it seemed, wanted to hear the truth straight from the horse's mouth, or straight from the wolves' mouths, rather. He wanted to hear 3 of them admit that. In the 43 hours since the Omni King Zeno announced the multiversal tournament, they had failed to find anyone to join their team, which they did. "Nobody aside from us," Basil choked out, as his blood-red fur was set aflutter by his quivering. "We're very sorry," the 3 of them cried out in unison. Without another word, Sidra, maintaining his stern, brow-forward expression, turned back towards the war-torn city and extended his hand towards it. "Hakai!" As soon as the last syllable left his lips, A ball of violet light was planted in the center of the city and expanded until it engulfed everything in the vicinity: buildings, streets, vehicles, bandits, innocent bystanders, and pedestrians. Everything. They all disintegrated into 1,000 of infinitesimal violet granules, which then vanished into the ether, never to be seen again. The trio of danger could faintly hear the agonizing screams of the city's denizens as their bodies were eradicated, atom by atom, until literally nothing remained. Before they knew it, the city had vanished, leaving in its place an enormous crater, illuminated by some of the still lingering flickers of the violet light. For any mortal, this would have been a traumatizing scene to witness. For Sidra, it was business as usual. As you've probably gleaned in by now, Sidra and I are very disappointed in the three of you, said Mojito, but all is not lost. You have one last chance to redeem yourselves. The trio of danger twiddled their paws, unsure of how to feel about the ultimatum. On one hand, they felt honored that the gods weren't willing to give up on them just yet. On the other, they only had a paltry 4.5 hours left until the Tournament of Power. They'd have to work like hell to make the second chance count for anything. Mojito tapped his orb at the top of his staff, causing to display a compact hologram projection of Universe 9. Mojito tapped it again, and the hologram zoomed in on some remote corner of the universe, one almost completely void of matter, aside from a single turquoise-colored dwarf planet. There exists a lone planet in the farthest reaches of the universe, light years away from any other, said Mojito. Planet Picarto, for eons isolated from the other goings-on of Universe 9. It's virtually guaranteed that the news of the Tournament of Power hasn't reached them yet. And you waited until now to tell us about this? Cried Lavender. Bergamo grabbed the golden-haired middle child by the fur on his pronounced hunch and yanked him away from Mojito. Peace, Lavender, he hissed. Do not raise your voice to a deity. Mojito, unfazed by Lavender's outbursts, continued. War and violence are rare on planet Parika, and the few denizens who are battle-trained engage in combat for sport, not survival. He gave Lavender a pointed look. That was why we hadn't mentioned the planet until now. Its warriors lacked the adversary brawn, toughness, and precision that the three of you have been blessed with. Sidra and I hoped that you would be able to find other warriors who shared your gift. Mojito's tone turned grave, while his fingers tightened their grasp around his scepter. But you couldn't. As such, our only option is to turn to the planet that isn't being torn apart by bandits. Without another word, Mojito rapped the base of the staff on the ground, causing a circle of blinding light to radiate out from the point of impact. Bubbles of bright yellow light sprouted from the circle and swarmed around the 5 beings like angry wasps. More and more of them filled the immediate space around them, until they merged into an opaque, blinding luminous bubble. The bubble launched itself into the atmosphere and beyond, taking the 5 beings along for the ride. The 30 minutes it took to traverse the distance through space were, quite possibly, the longest 30 minutes Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil ever had to endure. Throughout the trip, none of them could bring themselves to say a word to Sidra or Mojito, or even look them in the eye, which was especially painful, since they had a plethora of questions they wanted to ask. The very idea of a peaceful planet existing in Universe 9, the multiverse's ghetto, seemed borderline fantastical to the 3 brothers. They were raised in a war-ravaged squalor, and found few mortals who weren't in their travels across the universe. Quite frankly, they had trouble imagining what a peaceful civilization would even look like. Thankfully, it wouldn't be too long before they saw one. Through the transparent wall of the warp cube, they could see a lone speck in the otherwise empty abyss directly in their path. The speck grew into a dot, then a circle, then a fully formed sphere. As the sphere grew in size, its features covering its surface, continents, oceans, islands, became clearer and clearer. You have 4 hours to find 7 other teammates, said Sidra, and you are not to tell them that our universe is risking erasure. There's no telling how they'll take the news, and given what we've seen so far, I do not want to take that chance. Understood, Sidra, said Bergamo. As soon as they entered the planet's atmosphere, the trip was practically over. The cube blazed through the atmospheric layers at a breakneck speed, reducing the world around them to a blushy green blur. Before they knew it, they were touching down on a stony plateau, looking over a small but lively village. Having spent a half hour surrounded by the vacuum of space, the trio of danger needed to take a moment to orient themselves and allow their eyes to readjust. Compared to the hellish scene they were subjected to earlier that day, the landscape before them was almost comically quaint. The sky was as blue could be, while the nearby star was shining just at the right intensity, and small birds flittered gaily through the air, tweeting their cheerful song. The village, by the looks of it, had a similar well-adjusted atmosphere. Stone-carved cottages with thatched straw roofs lined either side of a loose, gravelly pathway, the kind that would provide a satisfying crackle when you walk across it. The village was populated by tunic-clad humanoid rabbits with chalk-white fur coats, some with bushels of crops by their side, some with bales of hay over their shoulders, some with children at their heels, and all with expressions of contentment. Bergamo could practically hear the melodic music playing in the background. "You expect us to find a warrior here?" Lavender demanded, prompting a dirty look from Bergamo. "Well, you haven't left us much of a choice now, have you?" Mojito asked. "Lucky for you, Parika is a dwarf planet, so travel time will be minimal. Ask around, look for densely populated areas, and don't take no for an answer. Good luck." But just as he was about to jab his staff onto the ground, Sidra caught him by the hand. "Now hold on, Mojito. Don't you think we should stay here and provide the three with some help? The fate of our universe is at stake." Mojito shook his head. "It is their responsibility, not ours. Besides, we have pressing matters to attend elsewhere." The orb on his staff flashed to life before Sidra's eyes. He peered into it and saw the sneering yellow face of Quitela. Universe 4's god of destruction, staring back at him. "Quitela has called to arrange a meeting with you," said Mojito. "He says he has a proposition for you. An alliance, presumably." Sidra's face darkened. He never felt comfortable collaborating with that sarmy, devious character. Even though they oversaw twin universes, their philosophies pertaining to their work couldn't have been more different. Destruction was something Sidra did out of obligation, while Quitela drew an almost sadistic level of pleasure from it. Even so, Sidra reasoned that it couldn't hurt to have a fallback option in case his warriors fail out on their mission. Sidra reasoned that it couldn't hurt to have a fallback option in case his warriors failed their mission, which at this point was looking distressingly likely. "Very well," he said. "Bergamo, Lavender, Basil." The three wolves' eyes snapped towards Sidra. Basil shivered upon seeing the god's stern, stone-carved glower. "You have 4 hours to assemble a team, starting now. Do not fail me." With that, Mojito rammed his staff into the ground, and both deities disappeared in a blinding flash of light. After the light dissipated, Basil and Lavender could do little but stare dumbly at the empty space where their gods used to be. Bergamo, taking it upon himself to snap his two younger brothers out of their gaze, grabbed them by the hide and pulled them in close. "Basil, Lavender, listen to me," he barked. "We're the absolute finest class of warriors that Universe 9 has to offer. If there's anyone who can accomplish this task, it's us." He bared his fangs as he drew the two closer in, his furious eyes boring holes into them. "But we have 4 hours to do this," he whispered growled, scorching them with hot blasts of hot air from his snout. 240 minutes. We can't afford to waste a single second. I don't want to see any dawdling from either of you. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Bergamo," Basil and Lavender declared in unison, trying to match their eldest's intensity. "Then follow my lead." Bergamo leaped from the precipice and landed knee first on the ground below, causing minor tremors and leaving a dusty crater at the point of impact. Basil dove off the cliff, somersaulting in midair, and struck a perfect landing on his feet. Lavender threw himself over the edge and belly flopped onto the ground, making an unceremonious thud as he landed. Lavender let out a faint grunt of pain before rolling onto a standing position. With no time to waste, the trio of danger took off in a dead sprint towards the village, ready to take the first step on their tumultuous 4-hour adventure. Alright, so that was Chapter 1 of the Trio of Danger's 4-hour recruitment adventure. Once again, I will leave links in the description to Mr. Tie-Dye's fanfiction.net profile and the fanfiction itself in the description below if you want to go ahead and read it. And if you want me to read more chapters of this story, be sure to let me know in the comments or in the live chat if this is on set premiere, so yeah, that'd be fun. Plus, this fanfiction is super fun to read. As you can obviously tell, I am a huge fan of characters like Beerus, Champa, and the Trio of Danger. And if I do read more of this fanfiction, Chapter 2 is probably going to be the most fun one of all time. I don't know why, but I love that chapter. It's just, I don't know why, but I love it. I love it so much. But in any case, hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, if you want me to read more chapters of this fanfiction, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time, pups. Cue the outro. RP is out. Peace.